So hello and welcome to the channel, and welcome to this Assetto Corsa Competizione special charity video. Now, a member of the sim racing community messaged me on my YouTube channel asking if I'd be interested in taking part in a charity event that he wanted to hold using one of the private servers, which I presume he already rent as part of a group on the Xbox console. Now, Andrew Cresserton had lost his mum earlier this year and wanted to put a charity race together for a number of drivers to try and raise some money and awareness for Dementia UK. Unfortunately, I'll be too busy throughout the coming months, as I explained to Andrew, with some personal issues, but I would be willing to create a personal setup for the event, which you can download on the SetsBase website. Now, usually I'd be charging £30 for the setup, including the video which you'll watch throughout this video itself, and all that money that's generated from anyone purchasing the setup through the SetsBase website will go towards the charity. Now, the charity event will be held on the 6th of December, that's 2020, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon UK time, which will be a 15-minute practice session followed by a 30-minute race, or 30-minute qualifying should I say, and then you've got the 2-hour endurance race to follow straight after that with a 2x multiplier. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty tough going race. If you are interested in taking part, there is a minimum £10 entry fee, with all proceeds going to the charity, obviously. If you do hold Dementia UK in high regard as a charity, or you know someone who suffered with dementia, you may well want to donate more money, and by all means do so. All the proceeds collected from the setup, as I mentioned, will go towards the charity. So if you are interested in taking part, please contact Andrew using the messenger app, or leave a message within this video and I'll point you in the right direction towards his Facebook page. Obviously there is only 20 places available as it is on console, so I'm sure they will go quickly, and all donations are probably best discussed with Andrew. I know he's wanting to do this through his PayPal friends and family account, but I'm best off talking to Andrew, I think, to make sure all the money is going to the right place. So without further ado, let's take a look at the video, let's take a look at the setup, and let's get into it. So hello and welcome to your 2017 991 GT3 Cup car, the Porsche. So let's just load up this setup and we'll take a drive around the circuit. So as you can see, the best lap time I was able to set was a 1:57.576 at 30 degrees track temperature. And we'll just take a slow drive around the circuit. So just pulling out of the pits, and it'll probably take 3 laps or so to get the tyres into a temperature zone that will work best. So down to turn 1, definitely want to stay in second gear for turn 1, and just remember that there's no traction control on this car, so be very gentle with your acceleration inputs, and all the way down to ABS number 6. It's quite a tricky braking car, I think, in that it does tend to lock up quite severely if you start lowering the ABS. So just try and get these tyres warm and just point out a few braking zones, the cones on the right hand side there. Down into second gear for this one. Try and stay on the inside. Usually I would go wide up over here, but there's a little bit more grip on the inside. Sort of feels like 2 corners as you come through there. You're sort of braking hard and then just sort of ease off and then still brake a little bit harder. Looking at the curb on the left hand side just here, just starting to brake down into second gear and just roll through this corner, and then just as you can see the curb on the right hand side, picking up the acceleration all the way up to 4th gear through here. Just a little lift as you reach the maximum end of 4th gear and take some of this curb on the right hand side, accelerating all the way up to 5th gear and just braking sort of just before this board on the right hand side, the 100-yard board. 2 shifts down into 3rd gear, let the car run really wide, and as soon as you reach the top end of 3rd, you're sort of lifting off and just allowing the car to run through the corner. Now I will point out on the left hand side here that I'm shifting down to 56.2 for all of the lap really, apart from that last corner we've just gone through. Braking at the 100-yard board, 2 shifts down and then a final shift down into 3rd, pick up that inside curb, pick up this exit curb, run it all the way wide, and I'm just braking there down into 2nd gear, hug the inside and then accelerate out. So we'll take another lap round, try and point out as much as I can through the lap, braking quite a bit before the 100-yard board really, and then coming across like the middle of the circuit there, accelerating, and then just as you get into 3rd, just a dab of the brake pedal, try and keep the car in before you accelerate out, up to 5th, and then just braking again down in 2nd gear, run as much of this curb as you can, and then a little squirt and then off the accelerator, and then try and take as little of that curb as you can because it really unsettles the car. Braking at the cones on the right hand side, 2 shifts down, a little squirt of the accelerator and then another shift down into 2nd, hug this inside and then accelerating out up onto the curb and accelerating all the way down. Braking at the curb on the left hand side, 2 shifts down and then a final shift down as we come in, let the car run through and then accelerating off the corner. Just changing the brake bias, max out in 4th gear and then just a couple of dabs of the brake pedal to get the nose to turn in, up to 5th, braking just before that 100-yard board, get the car turned in and then a little acceleration. As soon as you're maxing out in 3rd gear, bit of brake pedal, get the car rotated in, then changing the brake bias back to 56.2. Looking for the 100-yard board, 2 shifts down. Ooh, just touched that curb on the right hand side there. We'll do another lap, I'll let this guy past.
Green light, go, go, go.
So just starting out the lap again, and we'll do this during a practice session, it'll be far better. As you can see, I've got the brake bias set at 57 and I'm going to change this to 56.2 and I'll only change it back to 57 at one point during the circuit. ABS is going to remain on 6, it tends to lock up if you start going towards 4, and we can't change the engine map or the traction control. As you can see, there's no traction control and it's very temperamental on acceleration, especially in 1st gear, so try not to use 1st at all if you can. 2nd gear as we come through this corner and then just easing off, easing the accelerator in, up to 3rd gear and then just dabbing the brake pedal to get the car to turn in. It's a very tentative corner, that one. Down to 2nd gear and use as much of this inside curb to drag the car around, squeeze of the accelerator and then just easing off. Fully flat on the accelerator, looking at these cones on the right hand side, 2 shifts down, bit on the brake pedal, squeeze, a long section of braking and then accelerating out. Use that curb on the left hand side. Looking for the curb on the left hand side as we come into this one. 2 shifts down, hold that next shift down just to ease round here and then accelerating out. Use the curb on the right hand side and then change the brake bias to 57. As soon as you hit maximum in 4th gear, you just want to be easing off and using the brake pedal to rotate the car for the first portion of that corner. Just before that 100-yard board, down into 3rd gear and then accelerating out. As soon as you reach maximum in third gear, you're just looking to ease off the accelerator and start braking, and then changing the brake bias back to 56.2. Looking for the board on the right hand side, and then braking in a straight line 2 clicks down, and then the final click down, using the curb on the inside, using the curb on the right hand side, and then starting to brake. 2 shifts down to second gear, and then accelerating out. Don't get too eager on the accelerator. Let's do another lap. All the way up to 6th. Braking just before the 100-yard board. Might be one of the occasions that you have to go down to first gear. Up to 3rd, bit of brake pedal. Seems to go on forever, that corner. Down to 2nd gear, hugging this inside curb again. Bit of a squeeze, brake, turn in, accelerate. Looking for the cones again, 2 shifts down. Just using the brake to rotate the car, squeeze, accelerate, using the brake again to get the car to turn. Using the curb on the right hand side, left hand side. Looking for that curb again. Accelerating out, using the curb up to 57, max out in 4th. Braking just before the 100-yard board. Maxing out in 3rd gear, then braking. A very tricky corner to get right, but really important, that one, because you're going to carry all the speed down this straight. Braking at the 100-yard board. 2 shifts down. Sometimes the engine management just doesn't allow you to shift down the way you want to. Do another lap. So braking just before the 100-yard board. Down to 2nd gear's best, and then just roll through this middle section. Accelerating. Little squeeze of the brake pedal, and then back on the accelerator. Down to 2nd gear. Hugging this inside, bit of a squeeze the accelerator and then off. Looking for them cones again on the right hand side. Squeeze the throttle. Very tricky circuit, really is. In this car anyway. Again there, it just didn't allow me to change down gear quickly enough. Up to 57. Braking just before the 100-yard board. Max out in 3rd gear. Using the brake to turn the car. Braking at the 100-yard board. Whoa. So although the pit stop is blocked off, this is a great one just to practice your stopping distance, really. So just accelerating up to 2nd gear. So just do a number of those. Just to get you up to speed. So that you can see just where your braking marker is, just as you're coming into the pits. Obviously there's no pit crew to be able to service you, so there's definitely nothing that you're going to practice further down the pit, but just to get you run into the corner. See, I was just over the speed limit as I came in there. So it's probably just as quick as you're going to get it, really. So just do slow driving. So down to second gear. And probably just braking somewhere back there, really. It's probably somewhere around these bollards on the right hand side. Just getting yourself slowed down enough around here into first gear so that you can engage the traction control as you cross the line. I will look over the pit stops again as part of the race, as I did make a bit of a cock up of it myself, but coming into a lap, and let's just watch this now flat out. As you can see, I put 12 litres of fuel in during the qualifying session, braking just before that 100-yard board, down into second gear, stay in second gear through this section. It saves getting too much wheel spin in first gear, into third gear, and then just really hugging this inside curb on the brake pedal, just getting the car to rotate up to fourth and then down into second, running a little bit too wide here, but this is just my opening lap, trying to take that inside curb as little as you can. Really, it's really just start to unsettle the car, and you need to wait for it to get balanced again before accelerating off, or else you'll light up those rear tyres. Braking into here, down into second gear again, really hug this inside curb, there's far more grip on the inside, and then just let the car run wide. Accelerating down again, looking for that curb on the left hand side. If you can get 2 early shifts down and then a final shift down into second, it's the best bet really, but it really does depend on that engine management. Sometimes it'll just allow you like 1 shift down and then you double shifting as you get closer to the corner. It's a very temperamental gearbox, I think. Again, braking up, moving that brake balance to 57, braking just before that 100-yard board down into third, and holding third all the way through here, maxing out in third before using the brake, just to get that car rotated. Not too much brake, that's the whole reason why we changed the brake balance, because it's already on the edge of rear grip through there, and the lower brake bias just gets it to rotate too much. And usually I'd brake between the 50 and 100-yard board there, but because the car really does struggle to slow down, braking all the way back at the 100-yard board to come through that chicane. So let's look at my fastest lap, what I was able to put together through this qualifying session, and just putting everything into one lap really. So braking just before that 100-yard board, all the way down into second gear, use all the circuit, is running wide and then running through the middle of the circuit. You can see the line that's being created up to third gear, and then hugging this inside curb and then accelerating off as best you can up to fourth, down into second gear, really hug this inside apex. The curb just drags you around, a little squirt of the accelerator and then off and then back on, accelerating through there. Be tentative on getting full onto the power. Braking just at the end, cone on the right hand side, down into third, and then a little squeeze of the accelerator, then down into second gear, hugging this inside curb. Just let the car drift out wide using that exit curb, and then getting the car all the way up into 5th, and then starting to slow the car from the curb, 2 clicks down into 2nd, hug this inside, then as soon as you can see that apex, nailing it all the way out, run the curb right to the end, maxing out in 4th gear. We've changed the brake bias to 57, using that curb as you run up and out onto the other curb, and then just braking just before the 100-yard board, and then down into 3rd gear, and then accelerating, maxing out in 3rd gear, then just lifting off, a little bit of brake pedal, get the car rotated, and then accelerating out. Make a nice early change of the brake balance through this phase, and then just running the car as fast as you can get it really. Braking at the 100-yard board, 2 shifts down and then a final shift down over the little lip. Use that inside and then the exit curb, out onto the other curb, and then braking down into 2nd gear, hug this inside curb, and then accelerating away across the line to get into those mid 157s. And as you can see, true to form, even after this new update that we're supposed to have received, the lap deltas still don't read the same, but it could have been a 157.2. So starting out at the start of the lap, you need to get yourself prepared and make sure you've got that driver change ticked and you've got the change tyre ticked. If that's going to be the same during your race, you may need to also add fuel. That little glitch where you get the massive steering wheel, so just flicking through the views. And one of the things that pains me to say this, but it's probably better to qualify in 2nd place. As you can see at the start of this race, I'm alright through this section, but as soon as we come out onto this straight here, the 1st place driver is on the dirty side of the grid, and although I've just got my foot flat to the floor through this section and we get the greens to go, you can see that the guy in 2nd place alongside me just gets a better acceleration because he's not on the dirty side of the grid. I've got the dirty side of the circuit coming into turn 1, and he gets to run all the way around the outside of me, and he also gets the inside line through this turn 2, which I feel forced to give up to him really. And that's the last I see of 1st place. Using the AI at 98%, it's definitely a challenge. So just getting on it really right from the off, getting used to changing, use the brake balance on the left hand side, so just remembering to change your menus as soon as you can really. As you can see here, I'm coming into the pit stage window. I did use 53 litres of fuel, and by the end of the whole 30 minutes I'd used 30.6 litres of fuel. So definitely some things to think about. Coming into the pits then, remember it's nowhere near as much grip through this section. As you can see, I make a huge error coming in there, which adds another 6 seconds to my pit stop. So just be aware of how much speed you're carrying through that turn, and then just be looking at your PSI of your existing tyres. Maybe you've looked at them on the last lap, just to make sure if you need to make any adjustments to the pressures through your tyres. And then coming in here, I've got the 1st place driver who's pitting right in the box in front of mine, so a really awkward pit stop for me to be able to see my pit box coming in. Pressing the engine cut button as you come into the pit, so brake and engine cut at the same time, and then by the time you've come to a standstill, the engine's already off and the guys can get to work on changing the tyres. So if you're choosing to use fuel through this phase, it may be important to know how much fuel you're using. So if you did just want to stop once, I recommend putting 62 litres of fuel in, and then you're going to add another 62 litres at your stop. If you wanted to do 2 stops during this race and change tyres at both stops, I definitely recommend it. Probably 2 stops is better, so running 41.3 litres of fuel and changing tyres at both stops. Obviously, because you're using no traction control, I imagine you will start to light up those rear tyres at some point during the race. And even though I ran a half an hour race, I still changed the tyres in that half an hour session. So if you're running sort of 4 stints really, I'd probably recommend doing a 2 stop race and using the 0.3 litres of fuel. Obviously if you want to use 42 litres, just to be sure you've got enough fuel in, it's 42 litres in both stops. And as you can see there, just on my last lap, just made that tiny error lighting up coming out of that turn, which cost me 4th place really. But a very entertaining race. It was a very tough one, to be honest. Definitely recommend trying the AI on 98% and 90% aggression. Certainly a very top level of racing, and they definitely push you the whole race. So I hope you've enjoyed the setup. I hope it's useful to you. If you do purchase it, obviously all proceeds will go towards Andrew's charity, Dementia UK. Hope the race goes really well. Please do let me know how it went, and I'll be really interested to see what the final tallies were. But anyway, commendations to Andrew for just holding the event, and thanks for watching as usual. If you'd like to see more from the channel, please do like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell icon and that thumbs up button just to help all those algorithms. But from me to you, ciao for now.